In case you don't know, Benjamin Netanyahu's real name is Ben Zion Milakovsky. If we break it down into Hebrew, it means Ben means son, and Zion means a planted seed. And we can look at each of the letters in Milakovsky, and we get son of Moloch. I want to take a look at what they currently call Hebrew today and see if it is truly the original Hebrew language as spoken by the current people who call themselves Jews.
Rabbi Yaakov Guggenheim used sight sound technology to record the sounds of different letters. 17 of the 22 Hebrew letters illustrated in their actual form when spoken. In Genesis, the scriptures say that God spoke and everything was formed. They also found that different Hebrew dialects from different regions would create a clearer sound wave pattern on the image. The letter Gimel, for example, would only show up clearly when spoken in the Yemenite pronunciation. Sound waves with the sight sound technology. These are the Hebrew letters again.
So you may not realize this, but that's actually the Assyrian script. And of course, the Assyrians in around 720 BC were the first to take Israel captive and into slavery. That is not the original pictographic text. And of course, the true Hebrew is Bantus. Is true Hebrew Bantu. And what is the script? So this is the original script spoken at the top of Mount Sinai and written into the Levitical scrolls. Let's get into whether or not true Hebrew is Bantu. Wait till the end. The history of the Shemitic scripts over time. So the pictographic was from about 3,000 years ago, 1842 to 1307 BC. So this is during the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, leading into the Egyptian captivity. And then the early Shemitic, what we call pictographic paleo, was from about the 12th to 8th century BC. So this would be from the time around of the Judges all the way through to the Solomonic Empire and then their captivity to Babylon. And so this was the Leviticus scroll was supposed to have been written in this language, and this would have been from the Exodus forwards. Now this next one, the Middle Shemitic 4th century script, was, you see, it's still a bit pictographic, and it would include, post captivity after the second temple was erected, and even during the time of Esther, when many of the people in the land became Jews because the fear of the Jews fell upon them. So people who had taken Israel captive in the Medo-Persian captivity converted to Judaism and started calling themselves Jews. So when we finally look at the Dead Sea script, it's from about 200 to 100 BC. So it is after the time of the Maccabees. This previous one is during the time of the Maccabees. This is after the time of the Maccabees, from 200 to 100 BC, late Shemitic European. This is what the Talmud is written in, because the Talmud contradicts the actual Torah in multiple manifold ways, including Pedo. And the Masoretic is written in this. This is the current Hebrew as written by the people of today who say they are the Jews. And so this is not the script, the original Hebrew script. And the original Hebrew script is really Bantus. The language is Bantus. It doesn't have any hard V's or J's because it's not based on Gentile or European languages. And a great testimony to this is from the Houston Daily Post, September 20th, 1897. A Negro who can write Hebrew. He is deaf and dumb and comes from an African town. So in Hartford, Connecticut, September 19th, a young African Negro has been in the city for the last few days who claims to be a Hebrew. He is deaf and dumb, as black as the ace of spades. He carries a pad of paper with him and Hebrew and Lashon Kodesh. What excites the most wonder is it that he writes Lashon Kodesh very rapidly. It is the language of the books of Moses, and it is made a special study of, spoken and written with ease only by the rabbis and highly educated Hebrews. And so this is what is being said at the time. There are rabbis there in America. The Negro was sent to one of the rabbis of Hartford, who is perfectly satisfied that he is a Hebrew. He says that he came from a large town in Africa where there is a tribe of about 20,000 Black Hebrews who speak Lashon Kodesh and are quite prosperous. He also says that his father is a rabbi in that town And that is why his father took the trouble to teach him to write these languages, which needed an extra amount of labor on account of his being deaf and dumb. He says his people not only write Lashon Kodesh, but it is their speaking language as well. He left home a few years ago and has seen a good deal of the world. In each town, he hunts up the Jewish section, and there they give him clothes, food, and money. What surprises him, he writes, is that no Hebrew knows of his countrymen in Africa. So the people calling themselves Jews at the time do not know of his people. The person who supposedly restored Lashon Kodesh, HaKodesh, was Eliezer ben Yehuda. He was originally called Eliezer Isaac. Isaac often refers to Edom, a Jew living in Europe. And he was encouraged by a Zionist to learn the language, an Asher Ginsburg. So what Eliezer discovered was that in rare cases, when two Jewish communities that spoke different languages, say Yiddish or French or Arabic, needed to correspond with each other, they would sometimes use a form of medieval Hebrew as a common language. And so this strengthened his opinion that Hebrew was the way to unite global Jewry. So he moved to Israel in the 1890s and founded the Va'ad HaLashon, language council, which still exists today. He coined thousands of words that you don't find in the Torah, like ice cream, bicycle. Not every word he invented caught on. He actually invented a lot of words and would publish them in a magazine and persuade people to adopt them. So the Academy of Hebrew Language, after he passed away, collected this dictionary of words that he created. And so this was how the language that is spoken today in Israel as Hebrew was developed. The language spread through schools and homes in Israel and developed through trial and error, with each school becoming a word mining factory. So it was language by committee. Zephaniah 3:9 says that Yahuwah will surely turn the people to a pure language, that they may call upon the name of Yahuwah and serve him with one consent. But there are a lot of corruptions in this language, especially the hard V's and J's. Britain officially recognized Hebrew as the language of Palestine's Jewish inhabitants in 1948. Israel became an official Hebrew-speaking state. So it's kind of a little bit, spurious, as to how the language was recreated in Israel, so-called Israel of today. But the original speakers would be those from Africa. And these could have been Black Edomites. There's also Black Jews who share the same genetics as the Ashkenazi in West Africa. According to the book One Primeval Language Traced Experimentally by Charles Foster, 18